Number 9, every manner of civil government is under the authority of God. Every type of civil government is under the authority of God. God rules in his own name, and princes rule by derivation. Civil rulers are lieutenants of God, deputies of God. In Romans 13, the word for deacons is used of them several times, Romans 13:4. The ruler is therefore an appointed, delegated, and deputized servant. Servant. You're not their servant with them as the absolute authority. They are God's servant. And servants have to do what they're told. Right? Servants have to obey their master. A servant is under authority. If there is no God above the state is God. If there is no God above the state is God. If there is a God above the state, then the state must do what God says and not do what God says not to do, right? You can't just say, well, the king's in authority and whatever he says goes. You can't do that. If Ahab had called what he did to Naboth's vineyard, if he'd called it land reform, well, we need to do something about these rich landowners, like take all their property. If Ahab had just had the good sense to call it land reform instead of what he did do, maybe Elijah wouldn't have confronted him. Well, no, Elijah would have still confronted him if he'd called it land reform. Maybe he could have gotten his vineyard under a rezone. Let's do a rezone. Let's pull the wires. Let's do it. No, you can't do it. The civil rulers are deacons, diakonos, servants. They must obey what God says to do. A servant is under authority. Good morning. Let's pray together. Our Father and a gracious God, we thank you.